off real quick. Okay. All right. Take care. Love you. Bye bye. Oops. Am I live? Oh, I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. My apologies. I did not know I was live. I was on the phone. My apologies to each and every one of you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Mary D. Welch, and you are at the Mary D. Talk Show today. I do want to thank our sponsors. They're here. First, thank you, live viewers, and thank you, replay viewers. Um, this is the first time I've done a show like this, and I have so many mixed emotions. Let me tell you all that now about this show because um, I am going to have a PowerPoint slides, and I'm going to talk to you about it. But my biggest reason for being hesitant is because this show is close to my heart. Um, when I was 16 years old, I thought about suicide. And that's even hard for me to say all these years later, but it's true. I had gone through a breakup with my boyfriend, and I thought, well, if I kill myself, he's going to feel bad. Think about what that even says. But that's what I went through. And what I learned from that situation is, and what I did, let me say this too, I called the 24-hour suicide hotline and I spoke to someone. And I remember that more than the one thing I remember about that was when the lady said, well, Mary, what happens if we focus on today? Don't focus on tomorrow. Don't focus on next week. What if we just focus on today? Do you think that would help? And I do that to this day. To this day, I try to focus on the day I'm in, not tomorrow, not the past, because you can't do anything about the past anyway. And we don't know what the future is going to bring. So, just to share with you, this was hard for me. I almost didn't share this with you because, you know, I didn't want to open up and tell people some of the situations I've been through. And truthfully, one of my sons called and he encouraged me to do it. And he said, Mom, you need to let people know. We think suicide looks like something that it doesn't. We think we don't. We think we may or may not know what people are feeling, but we don't. And on top of that, we don't really know who is contemplating this. Sometimes we think, oh, yeah, oh, that person would never do that. You don't really know. Hi, Richard. Hello. Nice to see you. Always good to see you. So I really want to just kind of go through. I mean, I actually did a PowerPoint on this. Um, and this is not, let me just say this to everyone too. And I didn't even go, see, I skipped around. This is how much I totally lost track of what I'm supposed to say at the beginning of the show and everything. But let me go back and thank our sponsors for today's show. Um, you have for, frontpagepublishing.com is a sponsor. As many of you know, there's now, you can, if you have written a short story or poetry and you would like to have it published this year, you can go to frontpagepublishing.com and go to the anthology project, and you can enter your short story or poetry in the anthology. You go there and find out all the information right there. Um, and today would probably be a good day because I know that the price has gone up on that, but I can't remember if it's been changed or not. So I need to check. But anyway, but today is a good day to go on in. Those of you interested in, if you're a poet or you like to write short stories, and this is a good day. Fiction or nonfiction, you can go to Front Page Publishing and apply. In addition to that, we have the Henderson Real Estate Group. I'm sorry, the Henderson Real Estate Team. Um, you might want to go there if you're interested in buying or selling a home. You would contact the Henderson Real Estate Team. Additionally, there's First Book Academy that's available if you're interested in writing your first book. We also have Welch Travel Tours, which The executive producer, Oliver Welch, this is my husband. That's his business, Welch Travel Tours. If you're looking to book a group cruise, or you're looking to book maybe it's not a cruise, but it could be a group, it can be a couple, whatever the case may be, either airline tickets, airfare, cruises, any of those things, contact. You can go to Welch Travel Tours and contact Oliver, or you can use the number that's listed on this scrolling across the bottom to call our office and leave your name and your contact information, and he'll get back to you with that. I just wanted to make sure I do those thank yous before we get going. And I also wanted to, as you know, share with you a couple of the books. They're right here from our authors. There can be, as you know, the Saying No Nicely book. Hold that one up for you. There we go. That's one for those of you that want to say no or learn how to say no nicely. Then we also have children's books, which are Stuck in the Elevator. That's one. And this is for ages, I say 3 to 5 or 6. Have you seen a red elephant? It's another one. That's from side to side. Then there's also, this is the newest one. Well, I'll tell you, this one is the only one that's electronic, and that is There's a Rocket in My Pocket. And 2 other authors. Oh, and this is the newest one that I've written. It's called Peyton the Pink. This is Oliver's favorite. You know, I always say that. That's what my son says. He goes, "Why do you always say that?" I say, "Because that's his favorite." So this is Oliver's favorite. Peyton the Pink Whale with the Yellow Tail. Everything is available on Amazon. And these are by 2 authors, 2 of our authors. I have a third. This is one, which is Fayette. And this is Why Is Little Faye So Happy? We're really proud of Fayette. This is her first book. She's already working on her second book. And this is from another author, Justin Lowe. This is our son, Justin. This is his book, My Cat is a Spy. And another one, let me get it for you, ladies and gentlemen. We have a couple of them. This is from another author that's published with our company. This is from Dr. Mildred Henry, Still I Rise. And this is her memoir, which is just excellent. I'm so proud of her. She's 89. On her next birthday, she'll be 90. Think about that. Really, really proud of her with her book. This is Save Your Home from Probate. Those of you that, if you own a home and you have a will, but you don't have a trust, this will help you. And it's all 33 states and the District of Columbia are in here. So I want to make sure I did that before I go on. Okay. Now, back to the subject at hand. Our subject today, as I said before, is suicide. It is a serious subject. I actually had a conversation with someone just recently about this. Unfortunately, someone that I know lost their daughter to suicide in the last month. This is prevalent, ladies and gentlemen, in our society. And it's not something that we openly talk about. When I spoke to my son earlier today, he told me that was the very first time he had ever heard me say that. And he's 38. And he said, I've never heard you even mention that you ever once thought of this. And I said, I called when it happened to me, I called the suicide hotline and I did talk to one of their counselors. And he said, well, Mom, just think if you hadn't done that, I wouldn't be here, you know? And I said, son, I just thank God I did reach out. And in my story, I don't know why I was afraid to talk to my parents about it. I can't tell you why. I could just tell you I didn't talk to them about it. I never, I don't even know if I even shared that with them. I don't think I did. And they're both passed on now. But as I said before, I was 16. So, and the things, since that time I've gone on, I've become a teacher. I have a love for teenagers. That's just a group that I just truly, truly love working with. And in that group, I think because I understand how they think. And that was when I said to myself at 16, I'm going to think about what I said. I'm going to kill myself so he'll feel bad about breaking up. It makes no sense to an adult. It made all the sense in the world to a teenager. So as we go through, and I do have a PowerPoint I'm going to go through with you. The goal is I don't know who this is for, but I do know it's for somebody. That I do know. I just don't know who it's for. In fact, I was talking to Oliver last night, and I mentioned Phyllis Hyman. If you remember the singer Phyllis Hyman, and she committed suicide. I don't know the details or anything like that, but I just remember thinking, I love her voice, her singing, everything, but I didn't really know the lady or anything like that. I had no knowledge of her. But whatever pain, and what I have come to terms with, whatever pain people, what they're feeling, they want the pain to end. I think that's it more than anything else. You just want that pain to end. It's like, if this will end the pain, then this is what I have to do to end the pain. But I just want the pain to end. I'm going to see the comments first, and I'm going to start the PowerPoint. We can go through it. As I said, Richard, hi, Gwen. And Richard says, okay. Richard said, that story reminds me of a story of a singer who was going to jump off a building, but someone convinced her to write a song. She didn't jump, and she wrote a #1. So if you feel like jumping, don't. Go write a song. I like that, Richard. I think this is what I find. Like I was speaking earlier to, who was I talking to? And they said a friend of theirs, I think one of her cousins said to her, a friend of his kept saying, I'm going to commit suicide. I'm going to commit suicide. And nobody believed him. And then he committed suicide. Because what I think was happening, he was reaching out. He was asking, he wanted somebody to care enough that he wouldn't do it. And he took his own life. So Elaine says, hi, Mary, you made it back from the doctors early enough to tune in to this important topic. We as a community, especially our Black community, must pay attention to suicide and its prevention. We have to. We are losing young, brilliant people are taking their own lives. Taking their own lives. I agree, Lane. You're absolutely right. I don't have the answer, but I try to do what I can to prevent this. And Gwen said, it is sad that suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. That's exactly what it is. Thank you, Gwen. You're absolutely right. And this is what was told to me when the lady said, would you mind sleeping on it and seeing if tomorrow is better? And I remember thinking, okay, what do I have to lose by that? I didn't even feel the same the next day. Think about this. Just going to bed and sleeping on it. I felt totally different. Hi, David. David says, it's so nice to be listening again. Oh, nice to have you back, David. Definitely nice for you to be here too. It's nice, all of you. Hello, hello, hello. And as we go through, if you know of situations where that you can share, please do. The goal is that we help someone decide that life is worth living. Life is worth living. When I was working on this, and to see that it's one it's mentioned here, the #1 causes of death. Think about this. Of people taking their own lives is the #1 causes of death. That's just phenomenal to me. So as I said before, I was 16 and it was a thought in my mind. I hope it's not a thought in anyone else's mind. So here we go. Suicide prevention starts with recognizing the warning signs and taking them seriously. If you think a friend or family member is suicidal, there's plenty you can do to help save a life. The World Health Organization estimates that approximately 1 million people die each year from suicide. Think about that. 1 million people. What drives so many individuals to take their own lives? To those who are not in the grips of suicidal depression and despair, it's difficult to understand what drives so many individuals to take their own lives. But a suicidal person is in so much pain that they can see no other option. Think about that. That's it. This is the only thing I can think of. I personally know of about 4 people that I knew that committed suicide. That I know them personally, and I didn't know that they were. I didn't even know they were at that level of pain. So I wasn't even aware, but I just happened to know them. Suicide is a desperate attempt to escape suffering that has become unbearable. Blinded by feelings of self loathing, hopelessness, and isolation, a suicidal person can't see any way of finding relief except through death. But despite their desire for the pain to stop, most suicidal people are deeply conflicted about ending their own lives. They wish there was an alternative to suicide, but they can't just they just can't see one. Which, in my opinion, means when someone does reach out to them and talks to them, or just says, well, we're going to find out more going through this, they're just talking to people. And then to hear the one, as I was going through it and going through studying about it, I think sometimes we don't say anything because we think, oh, if I say something, it's going to give them the idea of it. And according to the studies they've done, it doesn't. Your saying something does not influence them one way or the other. Think about it. You in other words, you can't put that thought in their mind. That thought they have to put in their mind. Usually, as they already said, is due to the pain they're experiencing. They want the pain to end. They want the pain to end. And so because they feel like this is the way for it to end, is to take their life. Wow. Like I said, I thought if I took my life, the boyfriend would feel bad. It makes no sense, really. None. But at 16, I thought it did. The common misconceptions about suicide. The myth. People who talk about suicide won't really do it. The fact. Almost everyone who attempts suicide has given some clue or warning. Don't ignore even indirect references to death or suicide. Statements like, you'll be sorry when I'm gone. I can't see any way out. No matter how casual or jokingly said, they may indicate serious suicidal feelings. The myth. Anyone who tries to kill themselves must be crazy. The fact. Most suicidal people are not psychotic or insane. Think about this. They're not the things you think is somebody's going to be. No. They are upset. They're grief-stricken. They're depressed or despairing, but extreme distress and emotional pain are not necessarily signs of mental illness. Wow. Let me think. Let me take this down so we can see it better. Okay. Before I go, I see the comment from Richard, and I just left this number up. Richard says, "Your boyfriend probably would have felt bad, but he would have gotten over it and lived." Exactly. That did occur to me, Richard, after a while. I mean, that the reality of that. Think of a 16-year-old. Think about just it made no sense to even think like that, if I be honest. But when you're 16, your first heartbreak, had never been through a heartbreak, had never been through anything like that. You don't know what you're feeling. I don't think. I think you just want the pain to stop. Like just what it was said. You just want the pain to end. That's all. It's not that you think anything, except you just want that pain to end. And unfortunately, people do things to themselves. The thought of that now, it just in my mind thinking, how could I have ever thought like that? I can't even imagine thinking it now. But at the time, it was very real and it was very painful. It was all those things. So I did think like that. But let me go here was, that I want to go back to the last one because we think it says the myth, anyone who tries to kill themselves must be crazy. Well, that's kind of, I don't know, because didn't is it one of the Miss Americas committed suicide recently? There's so many people and then I think it was Oliver just mentioned in the news or something, the man from the CEO from Bed Bath and Beyond. I don't know. I didn't read it. He was just telling me about it. Committed suicide, and I'm like, it's just phenomenal. And this young lady was an attorney, from what I understand, and this gentleman was the CEO of a multi-million-dollar corporation, and he still took his life, and she still took hers. So I don't know. All I know is what I experienced, and it was. I look back now, and I think it's remember hearing my uncle. He would always say, you know, my uncle Rose, and he was always say, one monkey doesn't stop. No, it doesn't stop a show. Like, you always say that. And I don't know, at the time, I remember thinking, I said, I didn't really get what it meant, but I knew it meant to keep living and to keep going on. And that's pretty much what I was trying to do. Let's see. I have to put where I can read it. Okay. Here's a myth. If someone is determined to kill themselves, nothing is going to stop them. That's a myth. The fact is, even a very severely depressed person has mixed feelings about death. Think about this. So even no matter what they're going through, they still it's fluctuating between wanting to live and wanting to die. So there is a point where they want to live, but they just need a reason to live. And that's what, as I said before, the counselor spoke with me. It was really trying to get me to see it wasn't as bad as I thought it was. And that's what I think that she was really trying to say. It's like, it's not that bad. But at the same time, she never said that. And probably because, well, training, I'm sure, she never ever once said that. Because what I think is not that bad, or you think is not that bad, people are killing themselves over. So you can't, that's when, and we're going to get into what not to say. What not to say to people. Because we want to know what to say and what not to say. But as it says, if someone is determined to kill themselves, nothing is going to stop them. The fact, even a very severely depressed person has mixed feelings about death, fluctuating between wanting to live and wanting to die. Rather than wanting death, they just want the pain to stop. I think that's it. That was what it was for me. I just wanted to not be heartbroken. The impulse to end their life does not last forever. Just like as you mentioned, Richard, I have been gone, but that man would have went on with his life. What choice did he have? So the only life I would have ended would have been my life. That would have been it. But I thank God I reached out. I didn't try and take care of it by myself. I didn't even know how. Think about that. Another myth. People who die from suicide are people who are unwilling to seek help. The fact is, many people try to get help before attempting suicide. In fact, studies indicate that more than 50% of suicide victims had sought medical help in the 6 months prior to their deaths. Wow. The myth: talking about suicide may give someone the idea. The fact: okay, I'm going to move this. You don't give someone suicidal ideas by talking about suicide. Think about that. So what they're really saying here, you can't give the person an idea. I'm going to move that off so we can see that. Here we go. Okay. You can't give them the idea. It says, fact, you don't give someone suicidal ideas by talking about suicide. Rather, the opposite is true. Talking openly and honestly about suicidal thoughts and feelings can help save a life. Think about that. The very thing that you think won't do it will do it. So, the very thing, and I'm a good example of, I just wouldn't talk about it because for me, I was ashamed that I even thought like that. I was ashamed to even admit it. It took for my son to even tell me, he goes, Mom, you need to share that. Don't keep that to yourself because somebody needs to hear that. Somebody needs to know that you had that, even though you may not have it now. At one time, you thought like that. You thought that your life, you didn't understand what you were going through. And you thought taking your life may be the answer. And I tell anyone, it is never the answer. It is never the answer. As that's what Gwen said, that's a permanent solution to a temporary situation. That's real. Next, the warning signs of suicide. Take any suicidal talk or behavior seriously. It's not just a warning sign. That person is thinking about suicide and is crying for help. As I mentioned earlier, the story that was told to me, the man talked to his friends about it, and they brushed it off. They were like, "Oh, yeah, big. You're not taking your life. You're not doing it." And he did. He did the very thing they thought he wasn't going to do. He took his own life. Most suicidal individuals give warning signs or signals of their intentions. The best way to prevent suicide is to recognize these warning signs and know how to respond if you spot them. If you believe that a friend or family member is suicidal, you can play a role in suicide prevention by pointing out the alternatives, showing that you care, and getting a doctor or psychologist involved. Think about it. And seeing a professional. When I spoke with the lady on the phone, I'm sure she had training and everything else because I didn't have a clue. I didn't even understand that. I didn't understand I was even in pain. I didn't even get that. I didn't understand that this is temporary and there'll be other boyfriends. I didn't get any of that. Because when you're in pain, as they said, which is so true, you just want that pain to end. Major warning signs for suicide include talking about killing or harming oneself, talking or writing a lot about death or dying, and seeking out things that could be useful in a suicide attempt, such as weapons and drugs. When I was growing up, there was a young lady, a situation happened. I think the mother wouldn't let her talk to her father. She took pills, went to sleep, told her sisters to wake her up, and they forgot she was asleep. And they didn't wake her up, and she died. She died in her sleep. That was over like 40 years ago. So she has been gone 40 plus years over a situation. If she had just said, I'll take a nap, she didn't have to not take the pill, she probably would be here today. But it wasn't that the sisters wanted her to die. They just thought, oh, we'll just let her sleep. They didn't know she took the pills. 15 years old. 15. She was the same age I was, almost identical. But she didn't reach out and talk to anyone. So she looked at things differently. Major warning signs for suicide include, oh, I'm sorry, I already read that. Oh, did I? Okay, I'm just going to read it for you. The major warning signs for suicide include talking about killing or harming oneself, talking about writing, talking or writing a lot about death or dying, and seeking out things that could be used in a suicide attempt, such as weapons or drugs. These signals are even more dangerous if a person has a mood disorder, such as depression or bipolar disorder, suffers from alcohol dependency, has previously attempted suicide, or has a family history of suicide. So everything is multiplied depending on the level. If you're using any drugs, there's weapons in the house, if there's any the depression, mood swings, any of those things, or family history of it, if those are all warning signs. You see? Okay. Next, oh, Fayette. Hi, Fayette. Fayette says, good show, Mary. We should always take people seriously. You are so right, Fayette. And this is the author, ladies and gentlemen, of Why is Little Faye So Happy? Thank you for coming, Fayette. You're absolutely right. I think I can't think of a situation where someone's said either in jest or whatever about suicide to me directly. I can't think of one, but like I said before, I was one. So just that alone, you know, I know the pain of that. And Gwen says, very valuable show. I'll have to watch on the replay. I've got to jump off for a meeting. Oh, all right, Gwen. That's okay. I understand. But thank you always. You know, I appreciate your support anytime you can come by. Always. So let's see. Our next slide. A more subtle but equally dangerous warning sign of suicide is hopelessness. Think about that. Hopelessness. Studies have found that hopelessness is a strong predictor of suicide. People who feel hopeless may talk about unbearable feelings, predict a bleak future, and state they have nothing to look forward to. Wow. Other warning signs that point to a suicidal mind frame include a dramatic mood swings or sudden personality changes, such as switching from outgoing to withdrawn or from well behavior to rebellious. A suicidal person may also lose interest in day to day activities, neglect their appearance, or show big changes in their eating or sleeping habits. I know too, another sign I've seen, um, I shouldn't say I've seen it, I've heard of, I haven't seen it, but that is, and many of us heard, that people start giving things away. They start, for whatever reason, um, maybe it's clothes, purses, shoes. I mean, I've even heard of cars. They said all of a sudden they just out of the blue decide to sell their car or give the car, whatever the case may be. But they're giving things away, personal things to them, um, and for no apparent reason. I'll put it like that. To look on the outside, you can't tell, but they're actually preparing for suicide. It's another one of those that we have to um, kind of keep watch on for family and friends. Suicide warning signs include talking about suicide, any talk about suicide, dying, or self harm, such as, I wish I hadn't been born. If I see you again, if I see you again, I'd be better off dead. Seeking out lethal means, seeking access to guns, pills, knives, or other objects that could be used in a suicide attempt. Preoccupation with death, usually focused on death, dying, or violence. Writing poems or stories about death. No hope for the future. Feelings of hopelessness. I'm sorry, helplessness, hopelessness, and being trapped. There's no way out. A belief that things will never get better or change. Self-loathing, self-hatred, feelings of worthlessness, guilt, shame, and self-hatred. A feeling like a burden. Everyone would be better off without me. Wow. Think about it. Talking about suicide, these are warning signs. So if you've heard or someone has talked to you or said things like, I wish I hadn't been born, those kind of things, pay attention. Don't assume that they're joking because I do believe that a lot of people could be saved if we only paid attention to them. If they have access to guns, knives, pills, or other objects that could be used in a suicide attempt. Because all attempts, that's still a cry for help. Whether if they've attempted it and they haven't succeeded, that's a good thing. But the fact that they attempted it is a bad thing. A preoccupation with death, where people are writing stories and poetry and that's their focus, that is definitely, these are cries for help, and don't ignore them. Whether it be a family member, a friend, a coworker, they're crying out for help. The only way they know how, they're trying to tell you, this is what I'm thinking of, without telling you the same thing, if that makes sense. No hope for the future. Wow. They're feeling like there is no future. So that's part of the reason, the hopelessness, helplessness that they're feeling. Self-loathing and self-hatred. Wow, those are big. So if you know someone that's saying any of these things, everyone would be better off without me. They need help. They need help. Getting affairs in order. Do this. Think about it, ladies and gentlemen. When people start, this is the only thing, making out a will. If this is not something that that has been a topic, and all of a sudden, out of the blue, someone says, "Well, I'm gonna make out my will," and everything. It may just be they're just making out a will, but you can still have a conversation around that. Giving away prized possessions. As I said before, people do that. These are signs. And I do believe if we paid attention to these signs, many people would be alive today. If we knew, because we think somebody's giving away things, oh, they just want to give it away. Why would you think anything else? But I think if we really start paying attention, and it could be they may want to just give it away. It may not be something that's about suicide, but there's only one way to find out. You have to talk to them and say, I've heard that may be considered a suicidal tendency, and they may say, "Oh, I'm just giving this. It has nothing to do with that," or whatever. But let them tell you. Let them say that no, this doesn't have anything to do with that, and I'm not leaning toward that, whatever the case may be. But let them tell you that. Don't you assume that. Making arrangements for family members. Now, when they say making arrangements for family members, I know that we're talking about when people are making arrangements for it could be for other family members. I have, due to, some of you may or may not know, I was widowed at 35 with 3 children, and I had to make the funeral arrangements for my late husband. I remember the doctor talking to me and saying to me, "Your life is at stake right now. Your very life." He said, "You don't realize it, but you can die right now because your heart has been broken. This person he had a massive heart attack. So literally here today, gone tomorrow. It was real. And now your world is in a tailspin. So I was making all the arrangements. I was doing everything. I wasn't suicidal or anything like that, but I just remember him saying to me that you have gone through a heartache, a heartbreak. That's what this is, a heartbreak. And that is something that affects you physically. So it really taught me to be more conscientious about taking care of myself. But as I said before, that I never even considered, there wasn't even a thought in my mind at that time. The thought came when I was 16, but it didn't come later on in life. Thank God. But it really was still a shock to my system to have to go through that. I will say that. Saying goodbye, usually, unusually, or unexpected visits or calls to family and friends. Think about that. Saying goodbye to people as if they won't be seen again. So you're calling family and friends and out of the blue, and you're just saying bye. And I've had people do that. I have that thing, but they did. It wasn't suicidal or anything. Like, they were just, I haven't talked to you in a long time. How you guys doing? Type thing. So you just don't know though. You just don't know. I can't think of one instance where someone did that and they committed suicide. Not one. Withdrawing from others, withdrawing from friends and family, increasing social isolation, and a desire to be left alone. All of these. Self-destructive behavior, increased alcohol or drug use, reckless driving, unsafe sex, taking unnecessary risks as if they have a death wish. I just watched, was it last night? We were watching, I forget which, I can't remember. It was one of the DeBarges. It was on TV. And he was doing pretty much what they're saying: drinking, drugs, unsafe sex. And he actually died from AIDS. So, and he was 39. Think about this, 39 years young. And I was like, wow. And he admits, he said he didn't want to die, but he was doing those things that led to death. And a sudden sense of calm, and happiness after being extremely depressed can mean the person has made a decision to attempt suicide. Think about that. A sudden sense of calm and happiness. So when you see people go through a state of depression, and then all of a sudden it's like everything looks like it's. So if you really think about it, there's no way to know. There's no way to know, because you may think, oh, they've snapped out of it. They've snapped out of that depression. They've come out of it. But that's not really what happened. So that's really, think about it. There's no way to know. That's really what this is saying. Let me go back and see. Because that's why I want to make sure. Oh, Facebook. Now I'm glad. No, Facebook wasn't available last week. It is this week, so I'm glad. And then a Facebook user says, I have seen these signs in my sister. Oh my God. Oh, I'm so sorry. And see, what you're saying is they've done the studies on all these things. And oh, I'm so sorry, Facebook user who I don't know who that person is. I can only imagine, like you said, the worst day of your life. It had to be. And Charles, hello, Charles. How are you? It's good to see you, Charles. And the Facebook user says, please pay attention. I wish we could have saved my sister. And I still think about this. Wow. I would tell you, don't blame yourself. Facebook user, don't blame yourself, because as you see, as I'm going through these, what do I say? I've even said it. You're not going to be able to tell sometimes, because it was the last one say, all of a sudden a calmness comes where now they've decided. So right before they decide, and how can you know that? And you really think about it, it would be almost the opposite. You would think, oh, that's not the case. But no, they've decided total opposite for what we think. I never got to that point. I got to the I'm mad at him and I'm going to make him basically make him pay. I'm going to make him feel bad. Crazy stuff. And I look back now and I think, what if I hadn't picked up that phone and called and said, I need help? That's really what I was saying, whether I knew it or not. I didn't say the words, but when I called on that phone, I was saying, I need help. I'm scared. I need to talk to someone. But I did not go to my parents. I did not go to my family. I did not go to those people, the closest in my circle. That's why I'm telling you, Facebook user, don't blame yourself, because I didn't do that. I went to a stranger on a phone who I didn't even know. And that's who I talked. And that person helped me understand that this is temporary and that just focus on today. I was worried about, people going to think something. I don't know what I thought people were going to think at 16. Who knows what I thought? But I was mad. I was angry. I was heartbroken. I was upset. I just gone through a breakup. That's it. Think about this. And I'm talking about losing my life over a teenage breakup. But I had never been through that. I'd never been through it. When I was teaching, I did not know who the person was. It was a student that committed suicide. I can't remember. I don't know who their name. Thank goodness. I wouldn't use it anyway. But I'm just saying, just hit me about this one person. And I just remember thinking, what could have happened that would have caused that? So that's why I mean, you cannot blame yourself for this, because many times I think, this is my speaking to the audience, I really do think the clues are there, but they look like everything else. Look, just now, I just took clothes to the thrift store and gave them away an hour ago, right before the show. So I'm giving stuff away. But am I suicidal because I'm giving things away? So no, I'm just trying to clean. I'm trying to, I guess not spring clean, but just get rid of stuff and declutter, that kind of thing. But my point is, there's no way to know. There's no way to know. We can think some of these things mean that, but then the person may laugh and say, oh no, I'm not suicidal. And then how would you know? I think it's one of the hardest things, to really, really know about a person. I really do. So don't blame yourself. And I could tell you do, but don't. The suicide prevention tip number 1. Here we go. If you spot the warning signs of suicide in someone you care about, you may wonder if it's a good idea to say anything. What if you're wrong? If the person gets angry, in such situations, it's natural to feel uncomfortable or afraid. But anyone who talks about suicide or shows other warning signs needs help. The sooner, the better. As I mentioned, I needed help. I reached out by phone and made a phone call. I think even now I realize as I said before, I was looking for help. I wanted the pain to end. I wanted that heartache to go away. I wanted to make him feel bad, which makes no sense, but I did. So what they're saying here is, say something. If you're wrong, it's okay. It's all right. Better to have said something than not to have said anything. That's what I would encourage you. No one in my family even knew about it, so they didn't know anyway. They couldn't have said, they didn't even know I even made the phone call. They didn't know I was thinking like that. They didn't know anything. I didn't even know to the level that I was thinking like that. Think about this. I didn't even know. But This is what they're saying. They've done studies on this now because remember, everybody that attempts suicide doesn't complete it. So then when that person doesn't, now they can give the information of to this is how I was feeling and this is what I was going through and now. And so that helps us help other people. Talking to a friend or family member about their suicidal thoughts and feelings can be extremely difficult for anyone. Think about it. I was moi. But if you're unsure whether someone is suicidal, the best way to find out is to ask. Ask. You can't make a person suicidal by showing that you care. In fact, giving a suicidal person an opportunity to express their feelings can provide relief from loneliness, pent up negative feelings, and may prevent a suicide attempt. Think about this. So, your asking cannot hurt anybody. But I think with a lot of we don't know what to ask. We don't know that's what it is. So we don't ask. We don't know. And that's why I really wanted to share this with everybody because I wanted to hopefully to open up as to what is or what is the I'm sitting up. I'm sorry. What are the what we should be looking for? This is a conversation. These are ways to start a conversation about suicide. I've been feeling concerned about you lately. See? Recently, I've noticed some differences in you and wondered how you're doing. I want to check in with you because you haven't seen yourself lately. Questions you can ask. When did you begin feeling like this? Did something happen to make you start feeling this way? How can I best support you right now? Have you thought about getting help? What you can say that helps. You are not alone in this. I'm here for you. You may not believe it now, but the way you're feeling will change. I may not be able to understand exactly how you feel, but I care about you and I want to help. When you want to give up, tell yourself you can hold off just one more day, hour, or minute, whatever you can manage. And that's what was told to me. As I said before, that she said, can you just last one more day? These are the things you can do. Hold on. Let me move this out of the way. When talking to a suicidal person, to do one, be yourself. Let the person know you care, that they are not alone. Finding the right words is not nearly as important as showing your concern. Listen. Let your friend or loved one vent and unload their feelings. No matter how negative the conversation seems, the fact that it is taking place is a positive sign. Be sympathetic and non-judgmental. The suicidal person is doing the right thing by talking about their feelings, no matter how difficult it may be to hear. Remember, they're alive. They're going to get past this as long as they're talking and going on. Offer hope. Reassure your loved one that help is available and that the suicidal feelings are temporary. Let the person know that their life is important to you. Take the person seriously. If a suicidal person says things like, I'm so depressed, I can't go on, ask if they're having thoughts of suicide. You're allowing them to share their pain with you, not putting ideas in their head. Wow. But don't. These are the don'ts. Don't argue with the suicidal person. Avoid saying things like, you have so much to live for. Your suicide will hurt your family, or just snap out of it. Don't say things like that. Don't act shocked, lecture on the value of life, or argue that suicide is wrong. Don't promise confidentiality or to be sworn to secrecy. A life is at stake, and you may need to speak to a mental health professional in order to keep the suicidal person safe. If you promise to keep your discussion secret, you may have to break your word. Offer ways to fix your loved one's problems. Give advice or make them feel that they have to justify their suicidal feelings. It is not about how bad the person is, but how badly it's hurting your friend or loved one. Blame yourself. You can't fix someone else's depression. Remember on Facebook, friend, your friend or loved one's happiness or lack thereof is not your responsibility. So remember I said that, don't blame yourself. Now, what I've done is put, and please do a screenshot. It says in the United States, you can call 988 Suicide and Crisis Line, or 988 or I'm Alive, or 1-800-784-2433. And this is for LGBTQ youth. There's a 1-866-488-7386. This is another referrals for substance abuse and mental health treatment. It's another 800 number, which is 1-800-662-4357. And then you have the UK, the Samaritans, Australia, Lifeline, Canada, Crisis Service Canada, and elsewhere. We have international. Ladies, gentlemen, the reason for bringing this show, which is totally different than usually I have the talk show and I have a guest, that kind of thing, but is because of the loss of life of a young person within the last month. It struck me because, as I said before, the thought came to my mind. Thank God I did not act on it, but it still came to mind. And the fact that it came to my mind made me know that I may not be the only one that these kind of thoughts come to. Oh, let me go and see. Oh, I see Charles. Oh, Sheila. Okay, let me go back up. Oh, Sheila. Thank you for sharing that, Sheila. And I am so sorry about your sister. I really, really am. Because I think it's only, your sister is like so many people. And I can almost guarantee you have been feeling guilty ever since. But don't. And Charles, always nice of you to be here. Unfortunately, as you know, in our community, we don't ask for help. And it's so true, Charles, we don't. I'm hoping we can change the narrative on that. I am really, really hoping that we will start seeking help, because without a doubt, we need it as a community. Hi, Aaron. And Aaron said, oh, such an important message. Thanks for bringing the light to this and being transparent. Oh, you're welcome, Aaron. It's hard. I tell you, if it wasn't for my son, I don't think I would have. He was like, Mom, you got to share these kind of things. You can't keep these things. So thank you for speaking on this. You're welcome, Sheila. You're so welcome. So to each and every one of you, this was a different show today, but just let you know, and I will rate so you can make sure you see this. And if you need this information, if you send me an email, I'll make sure I'll email it to you. You can email me at contact at frontpagepublishing.com. That's the email. Or you can call. The number is scrolling by. That's the 619-669-8603. 619-669-8603 if you didn't get this information. But thank you all for coming today. And this helped one person, just one. It was so worth it. God bless each and every one of you. And I will see you next Monday. Thank you. Bye, everybody.